Hey, what's up guys? It's Dom from Whole Printing Inc. In today's quick video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make sure that your DTF prints never wrinkle, crack, and peel ever again. Now, a lot of things can cause this in DTF printing, so this is going to be a one-part series of a lot of different other parts. You take a look on my channel for different type of titles when it comes to wrinkling prints, cracking prints. Just make sure you take the time to look at all of them so you can have a better understanding of what causes this into DTF printing. So today I'm going to cover a few things. Number one being pre-press. Whatever temperature you're using your heat press, you want to make sure that you have it heated and you put your t-shirt on the heat press and you press the garment before applying your DTF transfer. This is going to help remove wrinkles and it's going to create a long-term quality product versus going ahead and just pressing the garment automatically. First of all, if you have some wrinkles in your shirt, it could actually damage the print itself. You want a nice flat surface, and once it has been pre-pressed, it's going to remove any additional moisture that was in the garment. So that's number one. Number two, get yourself one of these infrared thermometers. From there, you can set it to Celsius or Fahrenheit and take a look at how much your heat press is actually heating. Let's say, for example, you're heat pressing cotton at 305 degrees Fahrenheit for around 10 to 15 seconds. If, for example, you're pressing at that temperature, you start to see that your prints are wrinkling after they go in the wash the first or second time. This might be the culprit. The fact that on the actual heat press itself, it looks okay, like you have a good reading of your temperature, but when you actually go to heat something up, you see that there's around a 20 to 50 degree difference, which can impact your prints drastically. So make sure you grab yourself one of these thermometers, and I would suggest, guys, that every day, once the heat press is heated up, you take a look in the beginning and at the end of production. And you can even do it a few more times if ever you're not sure and you have an old heat press like me. So again, guys, we covered pre-pressing. We covered also making sure the temperature on the heat press is accurate. What's another thing that can cause your DTF prints to wrinkle, peel, or crack? Obviously, guys, starting from the printer, we have lots of variables. You need to make sure you're using high quality DTF ink. You want to make sure that you shake your ink every single morning to remove that separation from the magnesium and the white ink. After that, guys, you want to make sure that you're using a quality DTF printer that has been maintained on every single day. You want to make sure that there's no air bubbles like this going through your DTF white ink lines. You want to make sure you do a head cleaning, nozzle check, make sure all of your lines are there. That's the printing side. There's obviously other little things, but that's basically it. As you can see here, you want to make sure you're anywhere from 20 degrees Celsius. You can go to 18, 19, but I would suggest 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. And you want to make sure you're anywhere from 40 to 60 degrees in humidity. So my humidity is actually a bit low, but for me, it's working a bit better with a lower humidity for some reason. Now, going into the DTF oven, guys, this same thing for the little printers. It doesn't have to be a big printer for this example for these tips and tricks to be applied. Once the printer is down to a T, you want to make sure that your DTF prints are getting applied with powder evenly. They are curing at a steady temperature and they feel a bit, I would compare it to rubber. Some people say you need to have a bit of friction on the back of the print. It really comes down to your own personal testing and your personal preference. Some people say the DTF print should look a bit yellow. There's lots of different opinions, but at the end of the day, what works for you might not work for somebody else. So when it comes to the curing process in the oven, whether it be a big oven, a small DTF oven, or even curing it with the heat press, make sure that when you're heating up your DTF print, basically to cure it, you want to make sure that you do a few tests and you find out the time and the temperature and basically how the DTF print looks and feel on the back of it, so you know what works best for you. Once you've done a few tests, you can mark them on a t-shirt and then throw them in the washer and dryer. Make sure you have the same variables. So if, for example, we're testing out the DTF printer itself, don't change anything in the oven, don't change anything when you're pressing it on a shirt. and do a few tests. If you see something get better or worse, mark it down on a piece of paper. After that, move on to the oven. Keep everything on the printer the same and diagnose the oven. Try upping the temperature, try upping the actual curing time, try lowering it, lowering the temperature, lowering the curing time. Take some notes, put them on a t-shirt and throw them in the wash and dryer. Do a few tests. If you see it getting better or worse, take some notes. After that, keep the printer the same, keep the oven the same, and then change the temperature, pressure, and time on the heat press. Throw it in the washer and dryer, do a few tests, and once you're done, take some notes, go back to your notes, try to see a common element, and if your prints are getting better or worse, take note of what has been changed, and then you can go step by step once again. So eliminate the variables from the printer, make sure your nozzle check is good, the white ink is circulating properly, you have no bubbles or empty lines like this in your DTF tubes, so you can eliminate the printer for now. Humidity is good, temperature is good, perfect. Moving on to the next step, you diagnose the oven, you make sure that curing temperature is perfect, and then from there you can basically go on to the heat press itself, diagnose everything, make sure you have an accurate reading with this thermometer, and then from there you can make an educated decision on all of the different variables, making sure they're all to a T, and then from there washer and dryer test, and you should see a huge difference. Once you take the time to go from step by step, you'll see that the DTF prints are no longer wrinkling, cracking, or peeling. And if there is some wear and tear, it is normal wear and tear, which will happen in DTF printing, but over time. For me, basically, guys, I've had all the problems under the sun. Sometimes it was my printer, sometimes it was my oven, sometimes it was the heat press. I know how frustrating it can be to take the time to do the diagnostic of all of these problems. However, it is very important for your peace of mind, for long-term quality. It's gonna be very worth it. I remember, I think around a year or two ago, I was doing a bunch of orders with the smaller printers. So imagine, guys, it was taking so much time, and unfortunately, when I was pressing them on the garment, everything looked good. I gave it to a bunch of clients. Everything was cracking after the first wash. Like, guys, not only cracking, but the prints were coming off, peeling. It was disgusting. Once that happened, I closed down shop for 2 weeks. Went step by step, like I told you, with the smaller printers. I tried to figure out, is it the printer, is it the oven, is it the heat press? I came to the conclusion, guys, that in most cases, if your DTF prints are cracking intensely, like a really, really bad crack, and they're peeling off after 1 or 2 washes and going in the dryer, it's most likely, guys, something to do with the curing. The printer, obviously, if the white ink is not good, that can have a big effect. So it can either be the printer or the curing time. For me, it was the curing time and a mix of the printer. When it came to the heat press, my temperature was a bit low, so I turned it up. However, the temperature on the heat press is going to be less of a variable when it comes to cracking. It can still have a big impact when it comes to pressure, time, and heat. However, in most cases, in my opinion, if you're having intense cracking after only a few washes, it has to do something with your white ink or the curing time and the curing length, the curing time and curing heat of your DTF oven. So I hope these tips and tricks help. How to go from printer, oven to heat press, washer and dryer test, do a bunch of cycles, and trust me, guys, once you start doing it, you'll be able to understand better how these things work, and you'll have a better understanding of what variables to eliminate, because you guys know in DTF printing, it's not a click of the button and then you solve the problem. It's trying to eliminate variables that could be causing the problem so we can narrow down what's actually going on. So again, there's going to be more videos about wrinkling prints, cracking prints, and peeling prints. And before I let you guys go, me recently, I'm having issues with prints. They're not necessarily, peeling or cracking, but they're wrinkling a bit. So I have to do 2 things, guys. First of all, I need to make sure that I pre-press my garments every single time. This is going to help with the wrinkling of the DTF prints after throwing them in the washer and dryer a few times. They are not cracking, but in the corners sometimes they start to peel off. And I believe that's due to the fact that, again, I have an old heat press and I'm not doing this every single morning. So from now on, I'm going to be taking a look at the temperature every single morning before I start production to make sure I have a consistent temperature on the heat press. And if the numbers are not the same, I'm going to up the numbers to make sure that I hit my threshold. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed these tips and tricks. If ever you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy printing. This was Dom from Whole Printing Inc. Make a print you'll never forget.